We're getting to the position that a lot of people want to talk. Well, one of them. We still got to get to wide receivers. But let's talk running backs. What is up, Finn fans? Yes, this is the video a good amount of you guys were waiting for. This one, probably wide receivers, probably defensive line, offensive line. But we're going to talk running backs today. Breaking down my top five prospects of the running back position. But before we jump into that, got to shout out some new Patreons, some new members, and my guys at patchvibes.com. Use the promo code DDW. You get yourself 20% off. I'm actually going to have them on the channel so you guys can actually meet the people that I constantly talk about. They put a new t-shirt out that I'm getting for Joe Robbie Stadium. Friggin' fantastic. Love the, it's just a simple design. I'll pop it up. Just, use the promo code DDW, you get yourself 20% off. Patreons, got to shout out Ryan and Lewis Handful. Thank you guys so much for joining the Patreon. And on the member side, we have Ernesto Beck and Marcus Hairston Properties. Thank you guys for joining the Patreon, and thank you guys for joining the members. I don't even know what was going on with my brain on that one. So we're going to be talking running backs here. And I will say this. This was hard. My 5 and 4 5 and 4 I'm good with. I kind of knew who 5 and 4 were. It was 1, 2, and 3. It was hard because 1, 2. If the Dolphins take 1, 2, or 3, I'm happy. I'm ecstatic. Especially 1 and 2. 1 and 2 were probably the hardest because 3, And you guys, and I expect you guys to disagree. This was a hard one, so I expect you guys to have different opinions and different tiers for your guys. But if the Dolphins get my number 1 running back or my number 2 running back, I am pumped because both of these guys are just ecstatic players. I don't even know if that's the phrase I wanted to use, but let's jump into this. My number 5 running back, and again, I'm doing all of these positions. My number 5 running back in the NFL draft is Kenneth Gainwell out of Memphis. 5'11", 195, redshirt sophomore. Guy is he's that, think of like a Darren Sproles type with this guy, right? He's got that slot receiver route running ability, so he can go out, do what you need to do there. He's got the best hands of all the running backs in this. 3 drops on 60 catchable balls, right? Elite agility. If a linebacker gets on the open field with this guy one-on-one, you're going to get your ankles broken by this guy. And he's not burned out. He doesn't get beat up, especially, you got this big guy grabbing him or something. He wants to run hard. He wants to run low. He's a smaller guy, like I said. So he's going to be that little powerful back. But again, here's his cons. He's small. He's 5'11", 195. He's a little guy that's going to hurt also in pass protection. Because you got this big defensive end coming in here, or you got this big linebacker coming in on a blitz. This little guy, he's going to have to chop at the knees. You got to hope he can give you a few more seconds with this blitzer coming in, right? He's a freelancer. So he's going to, he's going to do his own thing to try to get open, to try to find the right lane, to bounce to the outside. And a lot of times that could end up being a loss of yards or something worse, right? He's a little slower then you'd think that a guy his size and his character with that scat back mentality would be. Also, another con, he opted out in the 2020 season. So we don't know if he built off of his success because in 2018, he had an 84.2 PFF grade. He had 91 rushing yards, only 1 touchdown. He only played, he had 4 attempts. So he didn't do much. But in 2019 is where he kind of took off. 89 PFF grade, 1,466 rushing yards, 13 touchdowns. That's when people started to notice this guy. But like I said, unfortunately, he opted out in 2020, so we don't really know. So he's my number 5 back. He's probably a 3rd rounder, maybe 4th. Depending on the run, he might be a late 2nd. If all of a sudden a running backs, wow, happens. My number 4 is a North Carolina running back. It's not who you think it is. It's Michael Carter. Maybe it is who you think it is. He's my number 4 back. North Carolina. He's 5'8", 199. He's a senior. Again, another small back, and this is the reason why These guys were my 4 and 5. They're kind of on the smaller side, but let's talk about his pro day stats. I couldn't find any for Kenneth Gainwell, but I did find them for Michael Carter. He ran a 4.5 40. He had a vert jump of 34, and he had 16 reps of the 225. Extremely elusive. This guy is extremely elusive. He's got that elite stop and go. He's going to break your ankles, spin, strong lower body. He's got those meat trunks for legs, which is good, especially if you got that plant and go. You want to do the spins and all that stuff. Very good. He's more powerful than you think. At his size, at 5'8", 199, he's a lot more powerful than you think, especially with those strong legs, and he's a very good receiver. He's going to put a lot of linebackers in coverage and create nightmares. So again, he's another one of those smaller backs, one of those guys that are going to go out there, get in the open field, and you get him the ball, and they're extremely dangerous. His cons, again, he's small. He's 5'8", 199. He's a very small guy. He had a late breakout year. I'll talk about that in 2 seconds when we talk about his PFF grades and his yards and his touchdowns in college. He's the guy you worry about in pass protections. Kind of the same thing with Kenneth Gainwell. The reason I'm putting him a little bit above Kenneth Gainwell is because he played last year and he continued to build off of that success. 2018, he had a 70.4 PFF grade, 609 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns. 2019, 84.6 PFF grade, 1,003 yards, 3 touchdowns. And last year, splitting carries with Javonte Williams, he had 91.7 PFF grade with 1,245 yards and 9 touchdowns. So that's the reason I put him above Kenneth Gainwell, is because he played this past season and he showed that he is consistently got better, a lot better, especially splitting carries. So yeah. Got these smaller guys, and again, that's why they're 4 and 5, and that's why my decision on putting them 4 and 5 wasn't that hard for me, because they're the smaller backs. That's not who I'm looking for, and I feel like especially in this NFL now, the speed will help, but you got to be able to pass block, and you got to be able to take some of these hits, because these guys are only just getting bigger, stronger, and faster. Now we're getting into the top 3. Now, the top 3 was hard for me. I'm going to give you my number 3, and I expect a lot of you guys to probably roast me in the comment section or be like, what? He's number 3? I just, after doing research, after watching film, I like 2 and 1 better, and I like 1 the best. This is my opinion. Again, it's just my opinion. But my number 3 is Travis Etienne. I think that's how you say it. Etienne. Running back out of Clemson. Yes, he's my number 3. Some people have them as his number 1. I have a list here of different who has him as number 1. CBS, Draft Network, and PFF have Etienne. I'm probably butchering his name, as their number 1 running back. I have him as my number 3. So I expect people to be like, what? He's running back out of Clemson. He's 5'10". He's 205 yards, 205 pounds. Senior. He ran a 4.41, and his second run he ran a 4.43, a 33.5 inch vert, and a 10-foot 8-inch broad jump. He's a big guy. They're pretty good. He has big run ability. He's going to be able to break off a big one. That home run, they call it that home run ability. You give him the lane, and if there's no one in front of him, or he just has that safety in front of him, breaks his ankles, he's gone 70 yards. He's got that big run ability. He took more passing in his senior year. That's his biggest knock, and I'll get to that in a second with his cons. But he took more passes, and he went out for more passes his senior year. That's what you kind of want with your running back, right? You want them to show that they can do it all. Yeah, I'm gonna pass protect for you. I'm gonna run the lanes. Obviously, I'm gonna be a good running back, but I'm also able to go out, and especially if it's a late release, that's huge, because a lot of times they'll stay into block, and then they don't have anyone to block, and they'll just release out. You dump the ball off to them, they'll get a ton, 15, 20 yards. He's a very good runner from stop. And what that means is, like, he can stop and then take off again. He's got that really good burst after the stop. He's got a strong forward run. He doesn't lose speed. So you're going to try to arm tackle him. He's going to run through you, and he's going to keep on going. He doesn't stop with that forward motion. Here's the cons, right? He does get caught bouncing to the outside a lot. And we've just noticed that, right? A lot of people, that was their biggest knock in Kenyon Drake, right? He wasn't the, I'm going to find the hole and I'm going to hit it just to get 2 or 3 yards. He kept wanting to bounce to the outside, get the home run plays, get the 15, 20-yard chunk plays. That's one of his big knocks, right? His rushing diminished once the offensive line fell off. Once the O-line wasn't that top peak O-line that he always had, kind of fell off, right? Again, he wants that home run hit. He doesn't want to go for the 2 or 3 yards. That's where the bouncing to the outside where he comes from. He wants to consistently take it to the house for a touchdown, take it to the house for the touchdown, not just find the hole to get the first down. He hasn't had 20 plus carries a game since 2018. So he hasn't had to run the ball a lot. So where, will he have to in the NFL? Kind of. You want to have a run first offense. You want to be able to not have your quarterback consistently be in danger. And the fact that he hasn't had a 20 plus carry game since 2018 is kind of a little scary. But you look, 2018, 90.1 PFF grade, 1,655 yards, 24 touchdowns. 2019, 90.5 PFF grade, 1,614 yards, 14 touchdowns. And last year, 82 PFF grade, 923 yards, and 14 touchdowns. So you saw it kind of started going down a little bit when the offensive line started to diminish a little bit. That's my number 3. Now my number 2 and my number 1. I cannot, and I'll say it one more time, I cannot reiterate how hard this decision was for me. I want to switch it, but I want to have a 1A or 1B. I'm being honest with you because both of these guys are just ridiculous. But I'm going to stick with my guns. I'm going to stick with what I have. I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to read your comments. You might be mad. You might agree. Let's just get on with it. My number 2 running back in this draft, Najee Harris. Yes, I know. He's my number 2 out of Alabama. He's 6'2", 230 pounds. He's a big back. He's a big back. He's a senior. He didn't run 40. He didn't do anything besides run routes for Mac Jones at the pro day. So don't have any of those numbers. But again, here's the pros. He's a big, elusive running back. That's what I want, another Ricky Williams. Not saying he is Ricky Williams. I'm not comparing him to Ricky Williams, but I want another Ricky Williams. And Ricky Williams was that big, elusive back that he'll break your ankles. But then if he wants to, he's going to pin you into the ground with his shoulder. Big back. He's got a great catch radius. He's a big dude, 6'2". He's got a great catch radius, and he's got great size and strength. Big, big guy. Here's his cons. He's a little bit slower for a top running back. A little bit slower. 25 carries, only 20 plus yards on 25 carries. So he only broke off a 20 plus yard run on 25 carries. To give you an idea, 578 total carries, only, like I said, 25 carries were 20 plus yards. He's not a home run threat, but that doesn't mean he's not good. It doesn't mean he's not good, but like I said, he's a little bit slower. He's not as fast as, Travis Etienne. He's not as fast as the other guys. He's not as fast as the number 1 guy. He ran behind an elite O-line. Let's just call a spade a spade. He ran behind an elite O-line. He rarely ever, if any, got tackled behind the line of scrimmage. It's the whole Mac Jones and Tua were behind an elite offensive line. You could say the same thing for Najee Harris. He was behind that elite O-line. He doesn't have big back mentality. He hesitates to hit those tight holes. He doesn't. He has the mentality that he is this. He thinks he's Kenneth Gainwell, but he's not. He's 6'2", 230 pounds. You see that little hole? Just put your shoulder down, man. Hit it. Blow right through it. So those are his cons. But again, 2018, his PFF grade was 90.6, 783 yards, 4 touchdowns. In 2019, 88.1 PFF grade with 1,224 rushing yards, 13 touchdowns. And last year, he had an 89.8 PFF grade with 1,464 yards and 26 touchdowns. Again, if the Miami Dolphins draft Najee Harris, I'm going to be pumped. He is a big back. He is a big bruising back. And to have him matched with, for some reason, my brain just wanted to stop working, Gaskin or Ahmed is just, he's like Malcolm Brown, but better because he's more elusive. Malcolm Brown is just a big guy that's just going to run forward. But obviously, if you know who my 5-4-3-2 is, you know who my number one is. And Javonte Williams is my number one running back. From North Carolina, 5'10", 220 pounds. He's a junior. He ran a 4.55 40. He had a 36-inch vert, and he had 22 bench press. And like I said, it was hard, but the reason he's won is just the pros and just how ridiculously big this man is. He runs hard. He'd rather hit you than go out of bounds. Who does that remind you of? Again, I'm not saying he's Ricky Williams, but that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for another Ricky. And this guy loves to hit you. He's got ridiculous balance. He's going to stay on his feet. He's going to stay on his feet, especially after a big hit. And if you're going to try to shoulder tackle him, or you just bump him, he's going to keep going. He has the PFF, let me keep going. He has the PFF most elusive season ever graded in 2020. And he is a big man. And he's got great bursts of speed. 75 broken tackles this past season, led the country. 9 broken tackles on 24 receptions. The man just loves to break tackles. He's just good. Now, there's obviously cons, right? 1 year wonder. He split carries with Carter. And like I'll tell you in a second, his other 2 years weren't as good as his past year, but he still did really good splitting carries with Carter. He doesn't have great ball skills when it comes to catching. So this is a guy who's more of a running back and not going to be as good outfield catching as Najee or as ETIENNE, but he had 3 drops out of 27 catchable balls. Not too bad, but not too great. He disappeared when he faced Notre Dame. When he faced that elite defense, he kind of disappeared. That's not good. That's not good. And his long speed doesn't match his burst. So he'll have that burst. He'll get you for the first like 5-10 yards, and then he kind of starts to, you can catch up to him, essentially. He's got that burst. You hand him the ball, he's going to hit the hole hard. He's going to get the yardage off the bat, and then he's just going to, the longevity isn't there. But you look at his PFF grades, 2018, he had 77 PFF grade, only 224 yards, 5 touchdowns. In 2019, he had an 89.6 PFF grade, 937 yards, 5 touchdowns. And then this is what I'm talking about with the 1 year wonder, the explosion of last year at 94.3 PFF grade, 1,168 yards, and 19 touchdowns. But you just look at the physicality and you look at just the way he plays. That's why he's my number one. And again, him and Najee Harris is a very close 1 and 2. A very close 1 and 2. What put me at putting him above Najee is just his big, hard-hitting, run-you-over play. And that he breaks tackles like it's no one else's business. But that's my top 5 running backs in this year's draft. Like I said, number 5 is Kenneth Gainwell. Number 4 is Michael Carter. Number 3 is Travis Etienne. Number 2, Najee Harris. And number 1, Javonte Williams. Be sure to comment below. What are your top 5? You might not even have Kenneth Gainwell in your top 5. You might even have Michael Carter in your top 5. Be sure to comment below. What are your top 5s? I'm going to get one of you guys' comments of the day. I went on Twitter for this one. I was like, hey, I'm making a late video. Again, I'm recording this Sunday night. You guys are watching it Monday morning. And I said, who's got a comment for me? And this one comes from Ryan. And Ryan says, hey, Doug, my comment of the day is, are you worried at all about the O-line coming into 2021 season? Very good question. Kind of coincides with what I'm talking about with the running backs, because without a good O-line, your running back, doesn't matter how good they are, they're not going to do anything. No. Yes. No. It depends on what they're doing. I don't like what we have at center with Matt Skura. We'll see if his, you know, win rate for passing and running is a consistent thing. And if his snapping gets fixed, I'm very comfortable Austin Jackson. I'm very comfortable with Robert Hunt. But it depends. They might draft, you know, their replacements, but I don't think they will. I'm very comfortable with Solomon Kinley. I'm not comfortable with Jesse Davis and Eric Flowers. He has his goods and his bads. We have 4 or 5 good offensive linemen that can do something well. It's just the center position. I want better center position. So do I feel good about it? I'm all right. I want it to be better. I wish they would have addressed it a little bit better. Maybe brought in Andrews in free agency. I think they could have done it for a decent amount of money, but I think they're really focusing on the draft. But yeah, I'm all right with it. We'll see how the draft goes, and then I'll answer that question again. I'll tell you how I feel about the team after the draft. But thank you for the comment. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. Next is wide receivers. And this is going to be a very hard one. Again, my top 3 for wide receivers is going to be incredibly hard. Chase, Waddle, Davis. Those are going to be the top 3. It's just that's going to be the top 3. But who's going to be 1, 2, and 3? It's going to be very hard for me, but be sure to hit the subscribe button so you know when that video comes out. Also, check out Miami Sports Music. Fantastic site. We're going to be doing a ton of stuff over there. And they got their YouTube channel. Go over, check it out, subscribe. But other than that, guys, I'll see you in the next video. I think I'm going to do the best all-time number 1 draft picks. I'm going to do the best, the worst, and then I'm going to do draft steals. I have a ton planned. Hit that subscribe button. Other than that, I'll see you in the next video. Like usual, stay classy. FN's up.